I mean, I know that's been a driving force of what I did. I've always tried to find people to learn from. And that's what I was doing with the records, right? Was that's what you were doing, Rolf, listening to records because I love the music and I could learn from them. I tried to copy the music. And that's the path of so many people that we call famous today or well known. That's how they started, right? I,
Yeah.
I I remember listening to Chick Corea and saying, "Yeah, I used to put the needle down on these jazz solos, and I would try and play them one by one, and I would wear out the needle. I mean, I did that doing the Bob Dylan records and the Rolling Stones records and the Beatles records. It was very challenging, but that's all part of learning, right? That's all part of learning. So, yeah, we have to learn from someone. I don't even, it's interesting. I was watching a YouTube video about Mozart. Mozart is regarded as by some people, as perhaps the greatest musical genius of our earth, right? But interesting fact that I don't think a lot of people knew is that when his father was a well-known violinist who taught a pedagogy course, and since the time he had natural ability, but from the time he was 3, his father had him practicing counterpoint and playing an instrument. It was part of his everyday regimen. So, plus his musical ability, he was doing this from the time he was a young child. So, by the time he was in his teens, he composed 40 symphonies as opposed to Beethoven's 10. And he only lived to be 30, was it 37 or 38 years old?
Yeah, he was very young when he died. Yeah.
So it's a combination of his innate ability plus his ability and willingness to learn. It's his skill as well. It's not either one or the other.
Yeah.
So then there's the issue of if you want to do this, for other people and you want to make it a career or you want to make a business or something you can make money that you enjoy doing, then I think we all have to find a way to work with people that we can communicate with, learn from, and work together with.
Yeah, absolutely. And my idea, and I know you agree, is the first step to be successful in music is that you love playing music.
Yeah.
And so I know that from your time in Los Angeles as a professional musician, you learned some great musicians ha- who had a great career. Could you um, could you say that those people that have been very successful and still are, they really love to play and to compose and to jam?
That's a very interesting question, and I'll answer it like this. I think loving music is part of the equation. But
Mm,
when you want to be really good at something, you may not love every time you do it because it takes work, it takes effort.
yeah,
You have to set a goal, and you may say, I'm not very good at practicing scales, or I'm not very good at writing songs, or I'm not very good at playing the drums, or I'm not very good at mixing, or I'm not very good at producing something.
yeah,
So, but you may love it, but you might realize that you're not very good at it or certain aspects of it.
yeah,
So then you have to be willing to say, okay, here's something I'm not good at. I've got to work at this till I improve my level at this.
yeah,
Just like like an athlete would do, or a musician would do, a poet would do, a scholar would do, anything, right?
yeah. So, except 3 years of my life, I never have been a professional musician. I'm a semi-professional or semi-pro, as we say in Germany, and I have the impression to to find a way to make your living outside of music, but still have the time and the power to do music and even to be on stages and have your gigs. It's a better way, because then it's easier to love what you do. Because if you are a professional musician, then you have to care about everything. So do I make, do I earn enough money this month? Can I feed my family? Can I pay the taxes and whatnot? And the majority of musicians are not the high profile musicians that don't have to care about the costs of living every day. So I believe it's a very hard thing to be a professional musician and still love what you do, love the music, and love being on the stage and do all that. What do you think?
Well, I think you hit a really good point, because things are not what they seem. In other words, I think as far as if one wants to totally dedicate themselves to music, there's a certain effort that you'd have to make,
Yeah,
right? And there's nothing wrong with playing music part time. I work with, and by the way, Rolf, you know, you say you've only been a professional musician for 3 years, but you write fabulously. I would never know that about you from the music that you write. So I think it's for everybody to decide how they want to do it. And there's no wrong or right answer. I was the other side of the coin. I was not willing to take on another job because I knew if I had a back door, I would take it.
yeah,
So I didn't do that because
yeah,
I knew it was going to be challenging. And there's sacrifices, or I could guess you could call them sacrifices I made along the way,
yeah,
because there were times that I really struggled. But on the other hand, this is the personal saga and the Buddhist saga of this. I was able to turn all those struggles into benefits.